chair just like it over here.
But if this was your chair,
I claim no ownership whatsoever.
He'll get you back later. That's what will happen.
Seriously, I claim no ownership until later.
Until later, exactly. The next time you do an event, your name will be on the chair for you to sit at.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Great to see everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you all have had the opportunity to interact with not only via this occasion, but in previous experiences across the board. My name is Terrence Moore, and I am with the City of Delray Beach Office of the City Manager, and we welcome you to our Small Business Expo this morning. And it's a tremendous opportunity to learn not only about the City of Delray Beach, but to receive a great deal of background information relative to successful opportunities for organizations such as yourselves that, quite frankly, would not become available otherwise. So we are appreciative of making this opportunity available because this actually aligns quite well with the goals and objectives to do what we can to engage and connect with the small business community and to offer leadership, guidance, and encouragement to help all involved and concerned to become as successful as possible. With that, we've assembled a great panel, not only from the City of Delray Beach, but we wish to showcase our partnerships and collaborations with other organizations who have expressed a like-minded interest and goal to advancing the cause of successful small businesses. With that, we have Assistant City Manager Jeff Oris, City of Delray Beach. We also, thank you, round of applause, well deserved. We also have with us Ms. Jacqueline Ramirez, who is with the Florida Atlantic University Small Business Development Center. From the Palm Beach County Office of Equal Business Opportunity, we have Ms. Antonia Smith, Palm Beach County. And procurement purchasing leader, consultant, extraordinaire, I might add. He's actually been helpful to us in recent months here at the City of Delray Beach, Mr. Kirk Buffington. Kirk Buffington, ladies and gentlemen. So a robust program, a tremendous opportunity in which to learn, grow, and to utilize the skills that are to be contributed during today's engagement to help you all achieve across the board. Not to mention the City of Delray Beach's interest in supporting small businesses and demonstrating whatever we possibly can to connect the dots and to help offer background information so that you and other small businesses who have an interest in qualifications and working with local government can be effective in the delivery of proposals and other responsiveness techniques to help achieve success in that regard. With that, we're grateful for the opportunity to offer leadership and guidance to this effect. We're very thankful for all of you being able to join us. And I trust that information shared today will be also communicated amongst friends, colleagues who have a similar interest in advancing the cause of small business success and solid entrepreneurship, working closely with local governments such as the City of Delray Beach to achieve in this regard. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please have a great morning. Many refreshments are available to help you engage your experience between now and roughly 12 noon today. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I will turn you all over to the capable hands of our illustrious panel. Take care, stay well, and have a good session. Much appreciated.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Kirk Buffington. I'm a consultant to the city to help them achieve a great opportunity for all the contractors in Delray Beach and in Palm Beach County. I've spent over 25 years as a director of finance and procurement with the city of Fort Lauderdale, so I've got a little bit of background. I hope I understand what it is like to be on your side of the table, and I'm going to hopefully help you understand a little bit about doing business with both the City of Delray Beach and other cities and counties within your area of expertise. And hopefully this clicker is, the clicker is working. So there's always going to be a technical glitch somewhere along the line, and I was afraid it was going to be the clicker. All right, so who is local government? And I think that's a pretty easy question to answer. Obviously, the City of Delray Beach, Palm Beach County, all the cities that are located and identified in Palm Beach County, Broward County. If you go that far south or go north into, what is the next county north of Palm Beach? Martin, thank you. So you all have a desire to work with local government. And I will start with the premise that working with local government is not always the easiest thing to do. And particularly if you desire to work with multiple local government agencies. Because you know what? We all do things a little differently. Every city, every county has what they call the Code of Ordinances. And within that Code of Ordinances is the method that agency has to conduct purchasing and contracting opportunities. These codes are built on a couple of key requirements: transparency, accountability, and maximizing competitiveness in the local solicitations. Okay? So, transparency. I'll talk a little bit in a little while about Florida's public records laws and why those are an advantage to contractors wanting to do business with the local governments. All right, so I can hardly see the screen. I'm going to step. Can you all hear me? Thank you. Thank you. All right, so understanding what the responsibilities are on the local government with which you desire to do business. All right, there are some broad statutory laws that govern how local governments do business. One of them is, if it's construction. The statutes, the Florida statutes, address in a lot of ways how construction has to be procured, how it has to be solicited. The same is true of professional services in regards to construction, design, architectural, and engineering. All right? There is a statutory requirement as to how architects and engineers have to be procured. Are any of you here with a A&E firm? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. So hopefully you are aware of what those statutory requirements are in regards to the hiring and retaining of architects and engineers. It's a totally different process, and the local agency, whether it's the City of Delray Beach or Palm Beach County, have very little discretion in how they conduct those procurements. Okay? So that's an important thing to know. All right, so why do you want to sell to us? And I say us because I still consider myself part of the local government sector, even though I am now a consultant. Well, first and foremost, we're pretty good at paying our bills. Now, some of you may, I got to wait 45 days. Okay, all right, I hear that. And there are reasons that may happen. But generally, Delray Beach and the other local agencies are pretty good about paying their bills and pretty good about paying them on time. Now, invoices have to go through a number of hands, and that's just the way business is done. There is multiple approval levels that have to be gone through. So the most important thing I can tell you about attempting to get paid on a timely basis is make sure that your invoice is correct. Because if you submit a flawed invoice, it'll get kicked back for whatever reason. So make sure that your purchase or your invoice has all the information that the purchase order and your contract requires you to have. That's probably the biggest advice I can give you. Now, Delray Beach, like many agencies, have multiple ways of getting to pay you. Of course, there's the hard check. That takes the longest. Now, Delray Beach also has direct deposit payment portals. In fact, I'm a direct deposit. I submit an invoice. It runs through their ACH. It's called Automated Clearinghouse. Runs through their ACH, and the money gets to you a lot quicker. The other alternative is, in a lot of cases, in small purchases, the City of Delray Beach will use a credit card. We call it the P card. And that, when you are able to get paid via the credit card, the money's in your fund, the funds are in your account 48 to 72 hours. Now, I know there's at least one person sitting there saying, yeah, but I got to pay a fee to my merchant, to my bank, and to my merchant, through the bank. Yes. And we understand that. And that's a part of doing business for both of us. Okay? So there are alternative ways to get paid. I would encourage any business that I were talking to at least go through the ACH. All right? And Hugh and finance over there, Hugh, the city's CFO, they will assist you in getting enrolled in the ACH direct deposit program. Okay? So, and what's the other reason you want to do business with us? There's a lot of business. All right? Delray Beach in particular has a huge amount of projects both on the construction side and on the goods and services side that are upcoming in their CIP. That CIP is Capital Improvement Budget Program. Capital Improvement Program. It's a multi-year budget of monies that will be spent in capital projects. And capital projects are more than just construction. Capital projects could be software. Anything that meets the definition of capitalization, capitalized equipment, or services by statute may be part of the CIP. All right, so competitive procurements. First and foremost, the city has a mandate to maximize competition. All right? So that needs to be understood. And that, regardless of the dollar value, the city has a mandate to maximize competition. Now, how that competition is maximized is a couple of different ways, depending on, first and foremost, the dollar value of the contract or the solicitation. Delray Beach's formal threshold level is $65,000. So if the good or service exceeds $65,000, it must go through what we call a formal bidding or formal RFP. All right? And that's formal notification, that's advertising in the local newspaper, also out on the city's portal, the procurement portal, which we will talk about in a little bit. All right? So anything over $65,000 is going to have to go through that more formalized competitive process. And that includes not only the formal notification, but it also includes having to go to the city commission to be awarded. All right? Anything under $65,000 is generally a 3-quote requirement, which can be accomplished by the individual departments. So it's a little bit more informal. There's a minimum requirement of 3 quotes. And once those 3 quotes are received and evaluated and reviewed, the award is generally made to the lowest most responsive, responsible supplier. All right? That's in a competitive invitation to bid. Alternately, they may be conducting what we call a request for proposal. Has anybody submitted on a request for proposal in any of your customers? I see 1, 2, okay. Good. So the primary difference between the request for proposal and the invitation to bid is evaluation criteria. Invitation to bids are, bottom line, what's the lowest price? As long as the supplier meets the minimum specifications and is responsible, a responsible contractor who can do the work, that low price is going to be the recipient of the award. Excuse me. Requests for proposals go through a different process. They go through an evaluation against stated criteria that is in the solicitation. All right. So if you find yourself responding to an RFP, be absolutely sure that your response touches all the criteria that's in that solicitation. And it'll be laid out for you. It's laid out. It's laid out with the weighting factor. How important is prior projects, for instance? Right. Price becomes one part of the evaluation criteria. So you've got to bring your A game if you're responding to an RFP. And there's a lot that goes in. This session isn't designed for me to discuss all the ins and outs of RFPs. But when you find yourself there, the biggest piece of advice, the takeaway, I always like to give people takeaways. The takeaway for you is to be absolutely sure you address and respond to every single criteria that's in the solicitation package. Okay? So that is really hard to see. Even I'm sure for you, it's hard for me to see, so I'm really sure it's hard for you all to see. All right, so sources of information. How many of you are familiar with the City of Delray Beach's portal called Periscope? All right, I see a few hands, all right. All right, here's a takeaway that every one of you has to take away from here that you did, if you didn't raise your hand. Get to that website. All right. Will they get this PowerPoint? Anybody know? By chance? Because this is real for these folks. This is really hard to see.
We can make it available.
I think that might be a very good idea because there are web addresses, URLs, that are part of this PowerPoint, and I think that will help you a lot. All right. But yes, sir. Periscope requires subscription if they are subscribing to just do business for Delray Beach, do they have to pay the subscription fee? All right, hold on. Okay, I think she just answered that question for us.
Yes, I believe so. It's a slide fee for the vendor. Yes, but we're going to give you the contact information as well as the website, and then you can go on there and kind of peruse through. Yes.
Ma'am, I think you're a user. Do you know for sure? We should know, and we apologize for that.
The cities say that if their site is free, with Periscope you get one entity. So you got to pick the one that you use the most. One city for free. And all the other cities, you're going to have to pay that $5 fee to pick up that solicitation.
Okay.
Per
No.
solicitation. So once you sign up with them, right? You're gonna, let's say you choose Delray to be your city of choice. Anything that Delray puts out, you're gonna get for free. Now you see something in Broward and you want that, they're going to charge you a fee per solicitation. Not unless you want to join the whole Periscope platform for that fee that you're talking about.
Well, thank you so much. Would you like to come up with me? That was. I appreciate that very much. This is one of the great opportunities when cities host these kinds of events. You get some of those questions answered, and you have folks that are obviously down in the trenches and working to grow their business through government contracting. So, yes.
Good morning. Angela Smith from Office of Equal Business Opportunity with Palm Beach County. I'll be presenting to you later. But if you are a vendor with an entity, these NIGP codes are what most government entities use. You can go on the website and look up your commodity code for free. You do not have to sign up for Periscope. So they have the same exact commodity codes that you can look up. You don't have to pay per commodity code or pay per solicitation because it is free on the government website. The government has already paid for it. So all you have to do is go in and look up what your commodity code, good or service, and then you can go and register with that commodity code. If you're a vendor with Palm Beach County, you go in there and you look at whatever you're providing. You will register with those commodity codes, and those same commodity codes, you can take it to the next government entity. So it's not like you have to pay per solicitation. Hey, Margaret.
I've got one. Okay, thank you. All right, so City of Delray Beach. Every city does have a different way of advertising their solicitations. Many of them still will use the local newspaper. You know, when I was in Fort Lauderdale, it was the Sun Sentinel. But a lot of agencies have also discontinued that legal advertising because it's expensive. And in today's world of technology, the cities have chosen that as one way to lessen costs. And honestly, a lot of contractors don't go through the legal advertisement on a daily basis. All right? So, in order to find opportunities, you will need to at least look at different agencies. What are they advertising? What do they have out to bid? All right? And you can see those, but in order to respond, you may have to pay that fee. All right? To get the downloadable documents, you may have to pay that fee depending on what the agency has set up. All right, legal issues. So, first and foremost, being aware of what you need to do to be compliant with a solicitation is extremely important. If the agency says to you, you must fill out this form and add it and submit it with your bid, then you better do that. All right? Because you may be found, if you fail to submit the form, whatever it is, you may be found non-responsive, which is to say you failed to submit required documentation. It may be an insurance certificate. It may be a Florida's Drug-Free Workplace Act. Right? Could be any number of forms. Yes, we love our forms. That's just the way we do business. But you need to make sure, again, like I talked about with the RFP, making sure you address every single evaluation criteria. It's absolutely critical that you return everything that the agency asks you to return. And yes, every agency asks for different things. Right? What is important to City of Delray Beach may not be the same level of importance with the city of Fort Lauderdale. All right? So you just need to keep that in mind. Now, there are a couple of other things of which you should be concerned when competing in the government sector. First and foremost is what's called a cone of silence. You will see this. City of Delray Beach has a cone of silence. And what that means, basically, is once the solicitation is released, a cone of silence goes into effect. Right? And that means you as suppliers cannot talk to the end user or anybody else within the city except the folks that represent procurement. Wave your hands, guys. There they are. Those are the procurement folks over there. They're the only ones you can talk to during a cone of silence. That cone of silence is effective until the contract is either A, awarded, or B, there's a decision made to reject all bids and resolicit or not make the purchase that was intended to be made. All right? So the cone of silence is a critical factor of which you need to be aware. Yes, sir. Okay. What if you have a piggyback contract? All right. So by that you mean a contract that other agencies could piggyback.
Or the city could piggyback on that contract instead of going to bidding.
Yes. If they are piggybacking a contract, then a solicitation is not being released, and therefore a cone of silence would not be effective.
Right, but if let's say I see a bid and then I have that piggyback contract, is it too late to make use of the piggyback contract?
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, once a solicitation is released, it's going to go through the full cycle. All right. So, since he's brought it up, I think I have it on another slide. But since he's brought up piggybacks are one way that an agency can choose to buy a commodity, a good, or a service. Piggyback essentially means City of Fort Lauderdale has a contract in place for X. All right, whatever it is. Let's say water meters, all right? It's a great contract. We got great pricing. It's a 5-year contract, all those good things. So Delray Beach needs to buy water meters. Now, they could do their own solicitation, or they could choose, okay, Fort Lauderdale's got a great contract. We're going to piggyback that contract, which means whoever the supplier is, they're going to get the contract with Delray Beach. All right? Now, there are decisions that have to be made as to whether or not piggybacking another agency contract is in the best interest of the city. And those are policy decisions that have to be made at the time of the determination that a solicitation, they need to buy something, okay? So if you have, what I would advise, if you have contracts which are piggybackable, you're already a supplier of record, at the very least, make sure procurement is aware of that. Now, procurement folks want to maximize competition. And I know the City of Delray Beach also wants to maximize local business involvement. So the choice to choose a piggyback has to be taken very seriously, because Delray Beach is absolutely committed to local business involvement. And piggybacking a contract from Fort Lauderdale Beach, or Fort Lauderdale, isn't necessarily maximizing that involvement. All right, cone of silence. Let's talk a little bit about public records laws. I mentioned that. Okay. So Florida has an extremely broad public records law. And basically, pretty much anything the city has as a record is open to a request by a public person, all of you are the public, to see the record. Now, there are exceptions. I won't get into the exceptions. Basically, you have the right to ask for the prior contract. What are they paying now? That's always a good thing to know, right? Who responded? Who was awarded? What are they paying now? It's all public record. So I point that out as another takeaway that could give you, a little bit of an advantage, if you will, before you submit your bid. All right, bonds. Surety bonds. Generally, your solicitation is not going to require a bid bond or a performance bond unless it's going to always be required on construction, and it may be required on a few other capital purchases. Now, I used to use bonds when I was working for more than just construction. How many of you have never seen or know what a surety bond is, a payment and performance bond? You all either know everything you need to know or you're afraid to raise your hand. Let me put this as the takeaway. If there is a bonding requirement, the day you see that bonding requirement, you need to reach out to a bonding agent and get that bond under review. Because the bonding agent needs to do, if you've never done business with a particular bonding agent, you don't have a relationship with a bonding agent, they're going to need to do a pretty in-depth review of your business. So if the bond is required, you really want to compete on whatever it is. You really want to compete. You need to get that bond in place. You need to talk to the bonding agent so he or they can get the underwriters working on it. And it is a pretty in-depth review the first time around. All right, we'll talk a little bit about, we all love our acronyms, right? Everybody's got to have an acronym. So the acronyms that we use in public procurement generally are ITB, invitation to bid, I mentioned earlier, low bid. If the bidder is responsible and able to do the work, the low bid's going to win. Okay? RFP, request for proposal. I talked about that a little bit. More evaluation criteria. It's more than just price. And let me give you a little heads up here. One of the evaluation criteria is always references. All right? Make sure the reference you put down knows the city may be calling. Because there's, as the folks who check the references, for us, if the reference says, I don't know who they are, or no, I've never worked with them, or no, it's been 10 years since they've done any work for us, that's not what you want your reference to say. So make sure that you contact your references. It's just like if you're applying for a job and they ask for references. You want to make sure your personal references are aware that they're going to get called. All right, so critical part about RFPs is that responding and making sure that you dot all the I's, cross all the T's. All right, so RFI, that's simply a request for information. It also may be called an RLI, request for letters of interest. They're not used a lot. Actually, in the last several months that I've been engaged with Delray Beach, we've done a couple of RFIs. The premise of a request for information is to just find out if there's anybody in the marketplace that can supply the good or supply the service. Okay? Respond. Absolutely respond. Now, there'll be continued solicitations, continued competitive process, but if you don't respond to the RFI, you may not get included on that next round. So absolutely respond. RFQ is a request for quotes. Again, anything under $65,000 is going to be generally an RFQ, request for quotation, 3 quotes. It's in the hands of the end user department to make that review before they pass it on to procurement. Ultimately, procurement has to review them and issue the RFP. PO. Yeah. Talked a little bit about RFI, RLI. It is in your best interest to respond. Request for qualifications, that is what is used for those professional services, the A&Es. All right? The key factor, if you are participating in a request for qualifications, it becomes essentially a 2-step process. When you respond, there's no pricing. You respond with your qualifications. Then those responses are all reviewed and ranked by an evaluation committee. And this is all determined, this is all mandated by statute. Once the ranking is done, the city receives authorization to begin negotiations with the first ranked. They can't talk to anybody else until they negotiate with the first ranked. If those negotiations fail, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen, then the city needs to have authorization to negotiate with the second ranked. Okay? Again, if you're responding to one of these, it's absolutely critical that you read everything. All right? And I mean everything. And I know they're very voluminous. I get that. I used to write them. But it is, it's incumbent upon you to provide what the city asks for. Talked about RFP, responding again. Pre-proposal conference, pre-bid conference. If they have one, go attend it. It's again, here's another takeaway. Attend the pre-bid, pre-proposal conference. Generally, they are not mandatory. Occasionally, they are for generally security purposes or particular issues about the site, if it's construction. If it's mandatory, you absolutely have to attend. Otherwise, you will not be considered if you were to submit a response. So, mandatory, absolutely attend. Non-mandatory, I encourage you 100% to attend. Because there may be information at that pre-bid that will influence how you respond. All right, we'll talk a little bit about sole source. Sole source is simply a determination that the city has made that what they intend to procure is not available from any other source. All right? They're sparing, a lot of times it depends on intellectual property laws that make, like for instance software, that make the procurement a sole source. They can only find it from one single source. Again, that goes through a lot of steps of review and approval before the city makes that determination. Because using a sole source does not do what? It doesn't maximize competition. The competition. Know who you're bidding against. That's why you attend the pre-bid or pre-proposal. You'll see who else is bidding. All right? You can also ask for a record of bidders. So know your competition. That's, again, the advantage of Florida public records laws. Review the previous solicitations. And, of course, during the cone of silence, you can only talk to the folks in procurement, so talk to them. All right, protests. We don't no. Protests are something that happens, and they are taken, obviously, very seriously. And, again, every city has a different protest policy. So first and foremost, you need to be aware of what the policy says. Number one takeaway, if you think you have grounds to protest an intended award, know what the time factor is. All the protest policies have a time factor. You must submit a protest in X number of days. All right? If you miss that calendar day, you're out of luck. All right? So, another takeaway, if you believe you have the grounds for protest, be aware of what the policy says. In e-commerce, get on board if you're not. Your best sources of information are on the web. Absolutely. If you want to do business with any agency, you need to go and visit their website. If they require registration, you need to register. That's part of your business strategy. We've talked a little bit about cooperatives. Cooperatives are similar to piggybacks. The difference is, in a cooperative, a bunch of agencies band together, if you will. And they put out a contract that all of those participating agencies will use. All right? This is generally done with goods that are used by multiple agencies. I'll go back to water meters. That's used by multiple agencies that have water utilities. Chemicals. We all tend to use the same chemicals, especially if we have a water utility. That could go on a cooperative. And what happens is, let's say all the cities in Palm Beach participate in the cooperative, right? When that cooperative contract is awarded, every city in Palm Beach generally will be buying from that supplier. So again, if you're able to respond, and I would caution you, when you respond to a cooperative, be absolutely assured that you can meet the requirements. Because that can be a lot of business that maybe your company isn't necessarily scaled up to provide. And you don't want to respond to a cooperative and then not be able to deliver. Because that's a message that goes out to all the agencies. So they can be great for business, but you need to make sure that you are capable of responding to all the requirements of all the different agencies. Vendor registration. This is when you look, that kind lady from Palm Beach County talked about the NIGP category codes. All right. All of us, pretty much all of us, use those category codes to determine, how we categorize a solicitation. So, again, get on the bidders list, and you have to do that. You have to register, and you have to make sure you choose the right commodity code. Now, there are literally thousands of iterations of the NIGP commodity code. So it can take a little time, but as she said, once you've done it, you know what your codes are. So spend a little time up front, and then you know what your codes are. I talked a little bit about P cards. A lot of agencies are using them. A lot of the agencies also have a whole lot of different sets of rules as to when they can be used, how they can be used, what the thresholds are. If you see the P card clause in the contract, make sure you're aware of it. Now, some agencies, Fort Lauderdale, made the acceptance of P cards mandatory. A lot of agencies haven't done that. But they will encourage, perhaps, the use of a P card. And again, the whole purpose of a P card is to lessen the processing time and processing cost. It costs the City of Delray Beach money to issue a purchase order and then issue a check. Last time I saw a survey that was done, did you have a question? It's a credit card, but it's the city's credit card. Visa, MasterCard. That's a business strategy that you need to make. The city's not going to pay it directly. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we understand that. Yeah, exactly. For us, it saves money, like I said. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry? P card threshold. All right. So the threshold is different for every city. Generally, there are two thresholds that are set for a card. Single transaction limit and the monthly credit limit that can be put on the card. As a contractor, you generally don't need to be aware of the thresholds because the city's not going to, pay you by card unless they have the threshold allowance on the card. You just need to be aware that it could be there. And you may want to think, again, as a business strategy, yeah, I'm going to take the card because I'm going to get paid in 48 or 72 hours. You're not going to be waiting for the check. And the card is quicker than the ACH. Okay, so most important when you get the award, build a relationship, okay? We want long-term supplier relationships. Now I got into the public procurement game 30 plus years ago. And 30 plus years ago, it was us versus them. You know, we don't like suppliers and suppliers don't like us. That has changed dramatically for a lot of different reasons. But particularly in large projects, large purchases that you're going to have a 5-year contract for, we want to build a relationship, right? Because you need to be successful for us to be successful. Because there's nothing worse than going to the city commission and saying we only got one response. Again, doesn't maximize competition. So when you get the award, make sure you build that relationship, and building that relationship is very much delivering on time, compliant, those kinds of things. I used to say when I was working, under promise, over deliver. Okay? Under promise, over deliver. Now, I would encourage you to at least be aware of the purchasing policies and procedures, which are on the city's website, because this is how the city requires itself to do business. So at least be aware of them. They're on the website, very transparent. Registration, there's a lot here that most of you probably can't even see. So again, look at the PowerPoint when it's provided to you. You need to be registered. At some point, you need to be registered to do business with the city. Not just in the city's vendor registration, but also in the state's SunBiz. SunBiz is the Florida Department of State, which regulates businesses and licensing. Oh, well, not licensing, but businesses. If you're not registered, you're not allowed to do business. Right? That's a state law. So I think we have a slide on SunBiz at some point. Yeah, hello. There it is. So this goes through all the steps for SunBiz. And again, you'll have this for you. I'm going to assume that everyone in here is registered unless you're a brand new company. You really should be registered. If you're doing business, have an FEID. Get yourself registered if you're not. All right, SAM. What is SAM? SAM is a federal website that reviews businesses for compliance with federal guidelines in invoicing and delivery. The primary use of SAM.gov for the City of Delray Beach is to make sure that you as a vendor are not on the federal exclusions list. Now, it takes a lot to get on the federal exclusions list, but you don't want to be on it. And Delray Beach, as part of their due diligence, will look at the exclusions list. So just be aware of it. Again, the PowerPoint provides information as to how to register, but just be aware of it, okay? We've talked about registering on Periscope. The link to Periscope is on the city's website. When you go to register with the city, you will go to Periscope. You'll have a separate link. It's an external link that will take you to Periscope. And you go through the registration with them. Okay. I think we're done. Thank you. Thank you. There will be a panel later on. Any specific questions before I hand this over to another very well-qualified presenter? Or you can save them for the panel.
Maybe clarification. For the P cards, the vendor should not charge sales tax, right?
No. Regardless of how we're paying you, there is no sales tax. We're exempt from the sales tax. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
There you go.
Well, where'd you get that picture? Okay. morning. I didn't send a picture in for them to use, so I'm just checking it. I'm Jacqueline Ramirez, and I'm with the Small Business Development Center, and we're hosted by Florida Atlantic University. And what I wanted to talk about today, and what I was asked to talk about, is what services you have to help you maybe prep to eventually take on these sort of contracts, both at the local, and we'll also talk a little bit about the federal level. But let me back up a little bit. The Small Business Development Center, a lot of you may be familiar with it, a lot of you not, but it is the history of the Small Business Development Center network is over 50 years old. There were two university presidents that actually sat on the Small Business Administration Board 50 years ago, and they, in their universities, did a lot of work in the business college with small businesses. And what they found, as they were working with these small businesses, loans they received from the SBA, the funding that they received, often was not invested in the most profitable way. And with that research, they went to the board and they suggested to them that these small businesses not only needed these two university staff, but all small businesses needed free at no cost consulting services in some manner that would make sure that as they received funds, as they hit barriers, as they were growing, they could access the same level of consulting that the large corporations could access. And they could access those services without having to pay for it. Well, it's not actually free. Your tax dollars pay for it, right? And as a result, there are now teams, anywhere up to 10, 15-member teams across the entire U.S. Florida was the first one to create a state network of teams of consultants. And those consultants in Florida is one of the few states where it's not only just the business, developing the businesses themselves in the traditional manner, but we also have consultants that are focused on local, state, and federal government contracting to help make sure that you're prepared for that when you're ready to go after it. So we have relationships with the cities, including Delray. My office is actually in Delray, with the county level, which is, you're going to learn quite a bit about them. And we have consultants that work at the federal level. So let's see if I can get this to work. There you go. And I've been involved in small businesses for all my life. My mother had a little business. Her business was making Barbie clothes for Barbie dolls. And it wasn't until recently I got into doing this work that I realized my mother was a small business owner. Her and her cousin used to go to little events, and they'd have a table, and in between I got to watch them sew the Barbie clothes, and they used my Barbies as the model to practice them on, right? So I think every family probably has somebody that was launching into that realm of being able to create money for themselves and for their families. So when you look at the state, all I want to do is show you here is we're spread across the state. So whether you're in this county or another county, there's a group of consultants waiting for you. And if you look at kind of the key areas that we focus on, for me, I wanted to put them kind of in an order of how a business grows. And one of the things that we start with, the consultants, is if you are actually starting a company. He's mentioned SunBiz. We help you work through that. We help you build a business plan. We help you think about marketing. We help you think about how to best describe your product. What are the areas that you need or the markets you need to be in? How do you build a team around that? How do you actually prepare to request funding? And that's really key because a lot of individuals want to start a business, but you also need somebody, a consultant, that will sit down and say to you whether you're really ready yet. And if you're not ready, what do you have to do to be ready? And can we help you in some way think through what are the steps to take to create that plan and to begin putting enough money away that at some point you can actually ask for a loan. A lot of individuals, I know there's a lot of marketing going on out there about free money and grants and loans for the small business. That has its requirements and its eligibility issues. So what we do as a team with our clients, and we've had clients from the time that they began to now they're 20, 30 years as a business. So we've got a lot of experience in this. Is sitting down and determining where they are now and what they need to do to be where they want to be in the future. Okay, so we talk about the access to capital, not just getting the company started, but what does it take to prepare for a loan. We are the intermediary between the SBA and the banks, the banking systems. So when you come to us and somebody refers you to us and says they need money, they need funding, they need to be able to add equipment or add staffing or money to support marketing, or they're ready to buy a building or whatever that might be, what we're doing is we're sitting down and looking at the numbers. You may be a very likable person, but if the numbers aren't there, we can't do anything for you. So what we begin doing is assess and analyzing the financials. And then we determine if you are ready. We reach out to our bank relationships to find out who in the banking industry or in the banks around us is actually interested in your particular industry, your size, and your intent or your plan. And then we begin working with that particular bank to then look at the SBA side, put those two partners together, and then work on getting that loan approved. So what I want you to understand is if you're thinking about at some point going to want to expand, that's the time to talk with us so that we can start preparing you to do that. And that's really important when you're thinking about contracting as well. You think about market growth. We're helping you do that. Strategic planning, business continuity. Do you have the things in place to keep you safe when a hurricane hits? Are you going to be able to recover quickly? Our teams are actually the first responders dictated by the state to show up after a hurricane or after a flood. And our job is to get you open again, right? So do you understand how to secure all of your documents you're going to need to get that funding and that help? Are you putting in place security around cyber issues? Do you understand what you need to do there to protect your company and your clients and your customers? And do you have all this in place when it's time to look for contracts with the local governments? So our job is really to make sure that when you are going to seek out these contracts with the city or with the county, that you're ready for that. And we can guide you to be ready for that. Many times we'll have cities and counties actually refer people to us to get you ready to come back and seek out those contracts. So if you look at local government, that's a jump to federal government. And what I wanted to show you here, and I'll read them to you. This is our government side is called Apex. So our consultants that are specialists in government are part of the Apex Accelerator, which is part of the SBDC Common Team. And these are the sort of questions, if you're looking for federal, which is where the billions of dollars are, these are the sort of questions, just a few of the questions that they're going to ask before they'll be willing to meet with you. Do you have past performance in the commercial or government sector? So the first thing that they're going to want to know, have you worked with your local government, your state government? Because if you have successfully done that, then you're moving up the line to get into the federal government contracts. So this is really an incredible opportunity when you have your city actually reaching out to you as a small business saying, come work with us. We have contracts for you. Because that can start setting you up for that federal level. They ask if you have a business plan, but it's not just a business plan. Look at your business plan. Does it have in it intent to work with your local government? or intent eventually to work with federal government. So how have you structured your business to easily slide into those two slots? Okay? Keywords that describe your products or software. Do you understand what you actually are bringing to them and selling to them? Do you understand how your product fits into the things that the DoD does or the other big federal agencies, and in this case, with your city? And then what's your gross revenue for the past year? We have a lot of companies that will come to us that are startups. They've been around about a year, maybe 2 years. They need more experience and they need more revenue flow. Because what you don't, what the city or the federal government doesn't want is they don't want you coming in on the edge. Because once you take a contract, you really do have to fulfill it and complete it. Because one of the largest errors is if you get in there, and this happens a lot with construction, because projects can kind of wane and move fast and slow down, is that you get into a construction project and then you don't have the funding to keep it going. Or you don't have the money to keep the product up and available for the city. Or you don't have the funding to actually pay the staff that you need to provide the service. That has to be dealt with before you come in and request a contract with a government entity. You have to be really solid there, okay? And then have you acquired any previous government contracts? What agencies? They ask you those things in their questionnaire. So that's just a few of a 2-page questionnaire that we follow in order to get you in with an Apex consultant on the federal level. We have to screen the companies that come to us. For me, it's a learning process. You start your small business. We get you ready to go with city agencies. That's the jump next to Apex, which is the federal government. Okay. Now, this is short and sweet because I know we'll have Q&As. This right here, if you see the QR code in the front and you saw it at the first slide, if you take a shot at that QR code, it'll ask you a few questions about your session today because we're always trying to improve, but there's also a link at the end of that survey which will allow you to register if you want a consultant assigned to you, and that's how it happens. You go in, you register, you give us a bit of information, it creates an NDA for you, and it also moves it through the process to get a consultant assigned to you. The consultants work together because we keep track of all the conversations we have with you. So you have multiple consultants, consultant in marketing, consultant in trade, consultant in financial analysis, strategy, team development. These are all different specialties. And we pull them in according to what you need. And like I said, we've had clients that have been with us for decades. We started them, helped start them, and then we just kept them growing. Okay? So please take time to complete that. That's really important for us. And any questions that you might have, I'd love to answer, and we'll do that. Wait a minute. Stephanie. Stephanie's the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce for Delray. Nothing. She loves that. Nothing. Yeah, it's at absolutely no charge. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a combination. She's asking how many years before trying for the Apex for the federal level, and she has a lot of contacts with the local. I would say 3 to 4 years, really, that you're solid. Now, the key is to come to us before then so we can start preparing you for that, okay? But when you're going up to the federal level, keep in mind that your competition, although they slice out for small businesses, okay, that's how that process works, you're competing with a lot of small businesses. So you want to show yourself as so solid that it just makes sense to work with you, okay? And that usually what we have found with small companies, small businesses, that's usually about the third to fourth year. 3 to 5 is where you really get your groove going and things are working really well if you've gotten the right guidance and the right help. So it's a different feel. You kind of tip over into this place where you love your company more than you hate it because it's so much work, right? Okay. All right. And our consultants are all of us have owned small businesses or have worked for small businesses, so we know what it feels like to go through that growth process. I've had mine, my husband had his. I love what I do because I love helping people not have to go through the mistakes I had because I didn't have an SBDC when I stepped into that. Okay? It's something that you really should take advantage of. And I love the fact that we're partners with the city and with the county, and we're able to provide them whatever services they need to help you get through that. Okay? That's it. Thank you. Okay.
This happens. Good morning. I am Antonia Smith, the Public Information Officer and the Outreach Coordinator for Palm Beach County, the Office of Equal Business Opportunity. And I want to say, on behalf of our County Administrator, Virginia Baker, and our entire Board of County Commissioners, thank you all for having us here. We're always excited to be part of the conversation when it comes to parity and equitable opportunities for small, minority, and women-owned businesses. So I'm not going to be long. Miss Margaret, they've given me a couple of minutes. If I exceed 10 minutes, tap me out. Thank you. Okay. So I guess we're going to talk about doing business with Palm Beach County. Our mission in a nutshell is to ensure that small, minority, and women-owned businesses have the equitable opportunity to participate in the procurement process for the county. What we want to do, we want our office to be the premier, the most valuable resource in the county for small, minority, and women-owned businesses. So here's an overview of why we have this process in place, and it started with the Supreme Court determining that there was a lack for small minority-owned businesses, all the way down to when we determined that there needed to be a disparity study, and there was a need for this process. I'm not going to go through each slide one by one because you've heard a lot of what we talk about, what we do in the prior presentations. But we want to talk about, I want to ask real quick, who is certified? Whose businesses are certified by a show of hands? Okay. So, let me talk about some of the benefits to certification. One of our primary benefits is the Affirmative Procurement Initiative. And Tony, we call them APIs. What are APIs? They are simply benefits that we are allowed to provide to you as a small business simply for being certified. Some of our other benefits are being on our website, having access to our office. To me, that's our major benefit, that you have access to the Office of Equal Business Opportunity. Anytime we're open, you're welcome to come in. You can call for an appointment, and we can help you through the process. In order to be eligible to be a certified business, first you have to be registered through SunBiz, and you've heard them talk about that. You also have to be located, operating in Palm Beach County. You have to have your business tax receipt for the county. But before you can have a business tax receipt for the county, you have to have a business tax receipt for the municipality where your business works. So you have to have 2 business tax receipts, for the city where you are and then for the county. I'm not going to go through the list again. We have a document over there that you can take with you that lists all the requirements for eligibility. But we have some size standards. In order for your business to be eligible to be in our program, we just raised the size standards. If you're a construction business, you cannot, or you can't earn in excess of $13 million in total revenue over a 3-year period. For professional services, CCNA, and that includes engineers, architects, surveyors, and such, you can't earn more than $7 million over a 3-year period. For non-CCA, it's $5.7 million. For goods, it is $7 million. And for other services, it's $5.7 million. And we just increased these size standards so that more businesses could be included in our program. Again, this is the requirement for SunBiz. You cannot operate as a business in Palm. You should not operate in a business as a business in Florida if you're not registered through SunBiz. Local tax receipt for the county. Again, you need to get your local tax receipt for the city you're in, your municipality, and then you can apply for your business tax receipt for the county, which we require for certification. Getting started with certification. Certification is a free process. You don't have to pay anything, with the exception of if you want your certification to be expedited. At that point, it's a $300 fee. You can only be expedited if you are going to, if there's a bid coming up that you're interested in bidding on, an opportunity that you're interested in bidding on. So that's a $300 fee. I don't see it up here. It might be in another slide, but the certification process, once you apply for certification, our small business development specialists have up to 90 business days to certify your business. So don't call us the next week and say, I applied for certification and I want to know where I am. And we do our certification. I know you all talked about Periscope a little bit earlier. We do our certification through what we call the vendor self-service portal. It is a very easy process, but there's steps to it. Before you can be certified, first you have to be registered with the county. You can be registered and not certified, but you can't be certified and not registered. So the first step is to go to our vendor self-service portal, which is on our website, and it's also on the purchasing department's website, and log in, set up your login credentials, and it'll ask you for some basic information. Once you do that, the purchasing department has 24 to 48 hours to issue you a vendor ID number. Once they issue you a vendor ID number, you can start the certification process. What you will do is go back through the same, here it is. Go back through use the same login credentials, go back into the system, use the same login credentials, and then it will direct you to the certification process. There we are. That's what our application looks like. That's what our paper application looks like. And you can do a paper application, but we encourage you to do an online application. I'm not going to go through the certification process. That's a whole nother conversation. And these are, like I said, these are the documents you're going to need to provide. You can upload them in that system. However, we do have something on the table that you can take with you so you'll know just what documents that you need to have. Oh, let me back up. Once you submit your application, everything is subject to public record. including your taxes. And we know everybody doesn't want their numbers out there floating around. So in order to, eliminate the having your taxes subject to public record, you can call us and tell us, hey, I submitted my application. However, I want to bring my taxes in, and we will set up an appointment for you to come see one of the business specialists, and they will review your taxes for the purpose of certification, and in that case, it won't be entered into public record. More of the documents. And here's where we're just talking about corporate structure. You will already have handled this because you need to know what your corporate structure is when you register for SunBiz. That is a conversation between the business owner and their accountant and or attorney. And these are some of the, so in order to, you can certify with our office as an SBE, which is a small business enterprise. You can be a white male, and as long as your business meets those revenue thresholds, you qualify as an SBE, small business enterprise. However, you can also certify as a small minority business enterprise or a small minority women enterprise or a small woman enterprise. And in that case, these are the documents that we require. This is the proof that we require for those forms of certification. If you are certifying as a woman enterprise or a minority enterprise, we will need some proof and documentation to attest to that. Okay, so we get asked all the time, do you all reciprocate certifications? We don't. However, we have a process that we have a document that we call an interlocal agreement or interlocal cover sheet. If you are certified with another agency, one of our partnering agencies, the City of West Palm Beach, the school district, I believe those are the only two. Okay, you can ask them, hey, I want to now certify with Palm Beach County. Would you please send us, can I get an interlocal cover sheet? In which case, they'll give it to you, you'll send it to us, and then we will request the documents from them. If you're not already certified, I would implore you to certify with Palm Beach County first, because we require documentation that those entities don't. So if you certify with us first and then say, hey, I want to certify with the City of West Palm Beach or the school district, we can send their interlocal agreement and everything that they need, we have. However, everything they have, we don't need, or we do need, plus some. So we will still request other documentation. So if you have not already certified with one of those agencies, certify with us first. It makes the process way easier to certify with the other ones. We also, I don't know if it's on there, but the Solid Waste Authority and the South Florida Water Management District, and I believe the City of Riviera also accept our certifications. So once you certify with us, they know you've been vetted and they will take our certification. What's after certification? Once you get certified, the main thing we want you to do is work your certification. We have a mandatory training, which is, we share some valuable information. Oh, goodness. We share some valuable information, so we want all of you all to come out once you get certified. It's not limited to newly certified vendors, so whenever we have an orientation, please come out. You'll learn some things that you didn't know that you needed to know. Outreach, which is my purview. I do all the outreach. We have some great activities and programs and initiatives, and paramount to all of them is the B2B networking. We really encourage it. I know that our certification is limited to for-profit businesses, but if you are a not-for-profit, if you are small and not registered, if you're not even registered in Sunbiz yet, please come out to some of our events. You make some great connections, you meet some great people, and you do business. It's a great way to do business. Oh, also, once you get certified, registered also, but once you get certified, you have access to all of the RFQs and the RFPs and all the acronyms that Mr. Buffington said earlier. They automatically come to you. They come based on your commodity code, so make sure that you put the right commodity codes in there, and be really careful about choosing commodity codes. I know sometimes you may see one and think, oh, that's the one for me. But if you look a little closer, there are other commodity codes that complement what your services and your goods and services are. Make sure you really don't find that one and think that's it. Make sure you research and find the right ones, because you get information about bids based on the codes that you put in. So, I do want to talk about, taking advantage of working with some of our resource partners, the TED Center, the SBDC, SCORE, the Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce with Wampakon. We work in collaboration with them, and they offer some great opportunities, and we piggyback off of each other all the time. So make sure if you need anything that is related to business, that you can reach out to our resource partners, and let us know. If we can't do it, let us know what you need. If we can't do it, we know how to find who does do it. And here's our contact information. We are located at 50 South Military Trail, Suite 202. Like I said, our doors are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You're always welcome to come. You can call and make an appointment if there's anything you need to know, or any questions you have about certification. And it was great talking to you all. If y'all have any questions, quick questions. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you registered in Sunbiz? If it's a nonprofit, we can't certify you.
My question was about if you had, it's a complex corporation, so it's a profit company with a nonprofit component. And I was asking, since they don't certify nonprofit organizations, what happens when you have a company like Tom's? I don't know if you ever heard of Tom's Shoes, where you have a profit company that does nonprofit stuff, and it's under the same corporation.
Yeah, I have heard of Tom's. However, if you are certified in Sunbiz as a nonprofit, then we can't certify you.
See, that was the question I had with Sunbiz, because the Florida statutes say you could be a public benefit corporation. And Sunbiz says that the best thing they have, because you could either be a profit corporation or nonprofit. So they currently have us on the nonprofit while they're trying to figure out how to deal with a public benefit corporation.
Well, once you flesh it out with Sunbiz, come see us.
So what you're saying is that the company is
flesh it out with Sunbiz, because if you are certified as if you're registered as a not-for-profit, we can't certify you.
Okay, what if...
Because the idea is that you don't necessarily own the business.
Right.
Nonprofits aren't owned, and this is about business ownership.
So what if you have a nonprofit that has a subsidiary that is a for-profit?
Is it registered independently?
I mean, a subsidiary could... Yeah.
It's registered independently as a LLC, S Corp, C Corp, something like that?
C Corp.
In that case, we can explore it.
Even though the parent company is a nonprofit.
As long as this entity is registered through Sunbiz, has a business tax receipt in the municipality, has a business tax receipt with the county, we'll register you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, can I mention one thing? Is it working?
And does have its own EIN.
Hello?
Does it have an independent EIN? Does it have its? Does this agency you're talking about have its own EIN with the IRS?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just going to mention, and I tell this to, please identify somebody who's a lawyer in business to check that with. None of us are. And we can give you options or guide you, but we will always have you make sure you check it with a lawyer. Okay. Second is if your business is a for-profit, a lot of for-profits have non-profit segments in the company, which is a great idea. But you can file as a for-profit. That shouldn't interrupt. But again, always have a lawyer, somebody that you know, that you easily can talk with to check it. Okay?
Me? Okay.
I was going to say, before we go to questions, I just want to say a couple of things, and then we'll take you there. One of the things is, a lot of you came here because you want to do business with the City of Delray Beach. I want to remind everybody how dynamic we are, so even if you have some friends who sell things, do things, you can share with them. What does the city buy? Well, clearly we buy a lot of swag for some reason. But over the course of the year, I can't even begin to tell you how many pens we buy because we all work a regular office. Printing. We do a lot of printing. Sometimes we go out to shows. We've got displays. We buy shirts for our employees, patches and uniforms, computers. Sometimes we buy microphones, although right now we're buying this service of audiovisual from Prime Star Digital Networks, who does an awesome job when we do public meetings. You look at the vast variety, catering services. We do a lot of meetings. We buy catering services. Thank you, Bagel with Deli, for that. So we're in a building right now that the city built. The city is actually going to redevelop this entire park. We're going to be buying sports equipment. We're going to be hiring somebody to build it. They're going to be hiring sub-consultants to do different things. We're going to get scoreboards. We're going to get, actually, one of the things I'm looking at now is the floor. Every now and then our floors need refurbishing in the city. So we hire people to do that. We buy chairs. So we also hire the architects that design the building. Sometimes it's a large job, like a building of this size. Sometimes we're building a small shed somewhere. So we need all of these goods and services. That's why you all are in here, because we need you so that we can do what we do. A couple things I want to let you know about that the city's up to is Antonia mentioned a disparity study for the county. The city is currently completing a disparity study. We're looking to see if we are equitably contracting with city dollars amongst those who are minority, women-owned businesses, as well as what our threshold is on our majority businesses. So it is possible we may be changing our procurement rules to have some sort of programs much like the county has. Why is it important to certify with the county? Chances are, if we go forward with our own program, we're not big enough to have a whole certification program. We would probably enter into an agreement with the county to talk about some sort of a using their certification program for our programs. Or we may also accept things like Florida Department of Transportation's for certain construction businesses. So those are things to keep in mind. One of the things I want to tell you, though, before we go to questions, absolutely the most important thing you can do to do business with the City of Delray Beach is register as a vendor. Now, it was alluded to that we have several different levels of purchasing. Anything under $5,000, anybody can pick up the phone, call a business and say, give me a price. If it sounds good, we'll hire you. There's little competition on those smaller amounts. Between $5,000 and $65,000, which is the city manager's threshold at which he can sign off, we need to get 3 quotes. Sometimes we may go to a formal procurement process and put out those RFP documents if it's kind of a hot potato item. Sometimes people in the department may just pick up the phone and call 3 companies. Where do they find those 3 companies? Well, they're going to call the purchasing department and say, hey, give me 3 companies that sell 5/8" screws. So they're going to look in their database and find out who's registered that sells that commodity or provides that service. One of the reasons you see some people on the sides of the room today who are all city employees, we wanted to make sure after we're done up here, you get to interact with the people from these departments who make those purchases. So you can become familiar with them, they can become familiar with you, and maybe next time they're calling for those 3 quotes, they remember they met you here and they call you for that quote. If you go around and you talk to everybody at the tables, you'll find out the different goods and services that they purchase. Everything from the purchasing department, which handles most of that for us, but we've got the fire and police departments in the room, Parks and Rec. Think of all the things that we do and we need to purchase. That's why you want to meet these people today. Before you go, find those departments that will procure the services or goods that you sell or provide, and go have a chat with them and let them know that you're available, you want to do work with the city. When you're done today, if you haven't registered as a vendor, go home, go to the city's website and do so. Make sure you use the proper codes for what you do and you fill that out in its entirety. And hopefully at some point in the future, we'll be doing business together. So let's go to the questions now.
Hello, everyone. First, I want to say thank you so much, City of Delray Beach, for give this opportunity to small business like us. So my name is Tiffany Soar from Soar Promo. So I actually own a swag product company that you were mentioned, and I registered as a vendor last year, but I haven't heard anything from the city. So I know my product and service is almost like below $5,000. Say, Jeff, you mentioned that everybody can literally call, say, oh, I want to buy from you. So business like mine, my question is that how can we do business with City of Delray Beach? Because it's so small amount of money.
And the simple answer is before you leave, go to each table, let everybody know who you are and what you provide, because just about every department in the city buys promotional materials at some time.
Go back to this question. I actually do some research and work. I literally bring my suitcase with all my swag product, and I want to give it to the different departments. So if you are me, what would you do to introduce yourself? The best effective way.
Well, the really great thing is you've kind of already done that. So I'm going to bet some of these folks are going to want to listen to what you have to say. Like I said, go around to each table, show them your products, let them know, ask them to keep you in mind the next time they're buying.
Okay, thank you so much. And actually, I'm pregnant for 5 months, but I drove 15 minutes to come this event because I really hope I can get some business and do with the city. So I really appreciate this opportunity that you give us and all the department give to the small business like me. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you again to the City of Delray Beach for this opportunity. It's a great event. My name is Simeon Ivanov. I'm a small business owner from Broward County. So my question is there any, obviously I cannot register in Palm Beach County, and I'm already registered in Broward County. Does that make any difference, when registering with Delray Beach, or is there any
When you register for the city, it doesn't matter where you are. One of the things is in this disparity study we're doing, we did look at what's our marketplace. Where are we buying goods and services for? And we have recognized that the very large majority of our goods and services are purchased from businesses located in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. So that is essentially what we see as our marketplace when we're going out. Doesn't exclude us from buying from people outside the area, but we have noticed that I wish I could give you a number. I want to say it was like 90%, but please don't hold me to that. Our purchase from businesses located in those 3 counties.
Can I say hello, Angela Smith from Palm Beach County Office of Equal Business Opportunity. You can still register as a business. You won't necessarily be certified as a small business with us, but you can definitely register and do business with the county.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank the panelists for your presentation today. It was certainly insightful. My question relates to the procurement, and specifically the phrase, the lowest and responsive bid, or the 3 bids, ITB, RFQ. My experience has seen that, yes, you do choose the lowest bid, but perhaps someone can explain to me, do I interpret it literally as the lowest and responsive bid, or is there other requirements in that category in choosing, be it the 3 bids or the lowest? Specifically, I'm relating, is there a mechanism where you're not driving it to maximize competition, that you're driving it down through the floor and precluding a lot of the small businesses that just cannot compete at that low price?
Jeff, you want me? Go ahead.
I was just say the lowest responsive. Usually it is the situation. If we put out a bid or an RFP for a project and proposals come back, let's say everybody says 150,000, 162,000, 180,000, and there's one bidder who bid 48,000. Even though they put in all the right things, we're going to investigate whether that was actually responsive or not, because there's just such a glaring gap between them and another firm. That's really where that comes into play.
Appreciate your answer. Just to give a point of reference, about 4 years ago, I did submit, and it was a request. The winning bid was half the price of the second, and the difference between the two was significant. And that was to my very question, is there anything that stops that? I understand the competition and to maximize competition, but at some point it precludes a whole lot of companies from competing effectively. Thank you.
Can I, I'm sorry, Margaret, you'll go next. With Palm Beach County, under our ordinance, one of the APIs or affirmative procurement initiatives is an SBE price preference. I'm sorry, I'm just like all in this mic. SBE price preference, where that means that, yes, it's the lowest responsible bidder. But if you are certified as a small business with us, if you come within 10%, this is the preference, if you come within 10% of that lowest non-SBE, you will receive the contract. Now, of course, there are other parameters that our procurement department looks at, whether you're missing documentation or whatever it is, whether or not you get that award or not. But there is a price preference for our smaller businesses, like you said, that cannot compete with that lower cost, but they can come within 10% of that low bid of the non-SBE.
Good morning, and again, thank you for inviting us. I actually have 2 questions. The first question is for Delray Beach residences that are also small businesses. Do they have a preference when you register and do all that good stuff, or is it just like open sesame?
We do not have a local preference, no.
Okay. And then my second question, because I know the Florida Department of Business also like qualifies what signifies as a small business. Like, so to kind of add on to his question, do you guys have like a cap as far as employees, as far as revenue that defines what actually is a small business?
The city does not currently have any such programs. That is,
The county does.
the county's purview.
For no employees, no. But for the size standard, Ms. Smith showed earlier, the $13 million for the construction, the 5.7 for our goods, and $7 million for our professional services. Those are the size standards, and they are averaged over a period of 3 years. So if you're a business that you've been in business for a year, we only look at your balance sheet and for that year. But once you've accumulated contracts and work, we gather that information from your gross receipts, and we average that out over a period of 3 years. And also to your first question, Palm Beach County does have a local preference, and that is 5%. So when we say local preference, anybody in the geographical area of Palm Beach County. So that is for local, but that's not for SBE. SBE has so many other preferences. So when you're bidding on a contract, you do not receive that local. You're excluded from that, but you have all those other perks and preferences that you do receive as a certified.
Jeff, this question is directed towards you, and it's a follow-up on the local preference question. In 2017, Delray did have a local preference, so I know that it doesn't require a disparity study to have it. I know it wouldn't for other reasons, but I know Delray had one. What's the rationale for not having a local preference in 2024?
We haven't looked back at that again, and as I had mentioned the other night, I'm fairly certain, did not the governor sign something this session that limited the potential of local preference?
I'm not sure that it was enacted.
Okay, we'll have to go back and look at that. But that is something, if it was not enacted, and if I'm mistaken, we will certainly take a look at.
Good morning. Two questions, essentially. First question, I'm a real estate broker, a property manager, and a general contractor. Does the city require any real estate services? Just want to see what the jobs that the city might have. In addition, you mentioned that guys doing construction for the park. The contractor needs to be registered with the city, but do the subs of that contract need to also be registered, or that's a separate thing? Thank you.
I believe we only require the prime to be registered.
Yes.
It is the contractor that's responsible, and they bring on their own appropriate subs.
Finally.
What about the what?
Up, there he goes.
We didn't finish his question.
Yeah, just the first question. Does the city require, or does the city have vendors for property management or broker services? Or
I don't believe we do it this time. I know the CRA has used some in the past.
Mm-hmm. Is that something we have to speak with the CRA directly, or that's some?
Like I said, if you register as a vendor, if we need those services, we'll be looking to that list for who provides them.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, Margaret with Mr. Wireman Electric. I've got two questions. I should have 10 by now. But where can we find, or do you publish your capital improvement projects ahead of time?
Once adopted, it gets published along with the budget.
Okay. So here's a hint for small businesses in the room. You should probably hold a forecast meeting so we can know ahead of time, because as small businesses, we don't have the resources to complete something on a 15 or 20-day process. So if we could get some heads up, then we can start making partnerships or start looking at what those things look like before it hits the street. By the time it hits the street, we've already lost. And then my second question goes to Ms. Angela. You spoke earlier a little bit about the next code in being able to float those back and forth so that we don't have to register or we don't have to pay the full cost for Periscope. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So Periscope houses the NIGP code, the National Institute of Government Purchasing Codes. and that is what Palm Beach County procurement operates under. So when you go into Palm Beach County's vendor self-service website, it has a list of all of the commodity codes that you could ever think of, the same ones that are on Periscope, and you can put those in there, and what it is, it's a literal list that you get of all of the things that you just registered for. You can print that out, and you can carry that on to the next registration, and you can look at that and put that in their registration. So you don't necessarily have to pay for Periscope subscription unless there is something that you're looking for out of the Periscope subscription. I'm not sure what all of that entails, but I know if you're just doing that for commodity codes, the commodity codes are already available to you on that website once you register. Was that the only question you have for me?
Before our next question, if I could just take a moment to recognize Commissioner Angela Burns, who stepped into the room. Thank you for coming, Commissioner. We appreciate having you here.
Good morning, Vera Woodson. I own the new Delray Beach Flea Market, Flea Mingle, FLEA, mingle.com. And I am actually sourcing new vendors from this area in the hopes that I can help them to move into retail spaces. I have made connections with a lot of the vendors on the avenue since I sit on the Downtown Development the authority board, and the vendors are making connections with some of the folks that are on the avenue through my connections. But a lot of them are not necessarily registered vendors with you, nor are they're small, like micro vendors. They might sell bath and shower gels, or some sell like their little glass pieces. It's kind of like hobbyists that have turned their things into businesses through the flea market. But my question is, I have set up an appointment to talk to the folks at FAU in the Small Business Department to help them to move forward and hopefully grow their business. But are those the type of businesses that you're looking for, or does everyone have to have all of the documentation and all of those things? Because as I said at the disparity study event, I have a vendor that I've met that does her own bath and body line, who could probably sell her own shower gels to the city for their public spaces for the soap. But how impactful is not having these like tax records and documents and all of that? I know you need to have it for legitimacy, but where does a small micro business fit into the grand scheme of things with you all to move forward? Because I can connect them. I used to be a buyer for Nordstrom, so I know what the procurement process is and everything. But how do these small micro vendors become large enough in order to satisfy your needs for the city?
Well, the two things they absolutely positively must have is a business tax receipt and be registered with the state, because they have to be a legal business. That is the only way they get that legal legitimacy. Now, one of the things that I know is often an obstacle with contracting with the city for a smaller business is our insurance requirements. We do require people to provide certain insurances. Now, one of the important things about that is you don't necessarily have to have it when you bid on the issue, but you need to have it in place before we sign the contract. So that is one of those things that some people can include costs associated with that in their proposals when they are proposing to the city to sell their goods or services.
So I help them to get insurance through the Crafting Association. So if they are handmade goods and everything of that nature, is that the type of insurance that would then be allowed to be used? Because they have to supply $1 million policies in order to be on city property when we do the flea market anyway. Is that the same insurance that's required when they sign up to become that small vendor, or do they have to have a different type of liability? The reason I'm only here to help my vendors because most of them, well, actually all of them, are women-owned businesses that are started out of the home. So I'm trying to get them to move forward, and I need this information because I put out a weekly newsletter for them telling them about things such as this and other opportunities available.
It'll depend on what it is we're procuring from. on whether we have that. And ultimately, what I would tell you is I can't make that decision. That decision generally is made by our risk manager at the time that we're procuring.
Okay, so, but if we go in there, if we put them in there and they don't know that they need the insurance, and then you are accepting and they have the wrong insurance, that would then hold them back. Am I correct?
Well, that can always be addressed when we know what it is we're looking to buy. Then we can share what type of insurances are required.
Okay.
And as long as the business can get it,
okay,
we should be okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. I'm freezing cold. So
apparently we have a really good AC technician on contract.
So my name is Mac, and the name of the company is Lean Library. We are a software company. We work with cities by helping them providing property debt or liens information to the public, and we help them settle those liens with residents as well. But our software company, when we provide our services to the city, we don't actually charge any fees, which means the city procure the software free of charge. So how do you procure, a services like that? And what does the process looks like? And especially we exist, and the cities, really are not going out there looking for services, like ours, because they don't know if we exist.
So usually on a service like that, we would probably put out some sort of a request for proposals, and sometimes we pay you and sometimes you pay us, depending on the service provided. We would put that out on the street. However, the type of service you provide you'd probably want to make contact with the IT department and also with our city clerk's office.
I'm so sorry, I have a follow-up question. My name is Lucy Suarez. I am a licensed realtor. To piggyback off of his question, would the city be open to something like facilitating something like this, but specifically for residential and commercial services? Like, for example, I have information that benefits police officers and city workers and things of that nature. Would they be open to hey, these are our priority service providers for this particular space, something like this, but specifically for real estate services?
We're open to anything right now. I think what we're trying to do, we're really trying to reach out to everybody and make sure that everybody's aware of the type of services we seek and goods that we seek to provide. If you have some other things that you think are beneficial, please propose them. We have a sheet that you may have gotten on the way in that's just a simple one-sheeter on what do you think of this this event we did today. And one of the questions we ask is, what other types of events would you like to see us do? You've proposed one of those perfect things to write down on that question. Thank you.
Good evening. Good morning. Our company, Patrick Glover, Sampson Construction, LLC, in Land Order Gold, we host our annual Health and Wealth Symposium right over in the auditorium every year. This year we were able to bring a lot of great people together. My question is, from a construction standpoint, how do we open up, I guess, for the native construction owners and native business owners to the City of Delray? How do we make the portal, I guess, a little more simplified in order for unsolicited proposals, more or less? We're preparing an unsolicited proposal right now to submit, and some of the submission aspects are, cost about $20,000, which isn't a problem, but how can we work together collectively to be able to develop our community based on the parameters that's set and just make them a little bit more easier for the, I guess, native business owners?
Well, I think one of the things we're doing is an event like this to let everybody know what's going on. We really did try to target our local businesses for this event. We'll talk some more about what may be possible to make sure that people are plugged in locally, knowing what we're doing. Again, can't stress enough, registering as a vendor with the city is absolutely key. As soon as we have something available, it goes out. I do like the suggestion of us trying to do a little update on our CIP so that people are aware what might be coming down the pike, so you can start thinking about some strategic alliances if you're smaller and want to partner with someone larger. I know I myself was in business at one time, and one of the things I would do is go looking for the larger prime on a job who would hire me as a sub-consultant, and if you bring them the job, they often will make sure that happens. So those are some of the things. If you have some suggestions, again, that sheet that we've got out there, or you can come and speak to me after the meeting.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I do not have a question, but I do have some words of encouragement for each of you in this room. First and foremost, thank you for this informational session, because relationships do matter. And so what the City of Delray Beach and Palm Beach County is trying to do is create a relationship with local businesses and industries and people in the neighborhood. So I want to leave you with this. My name is Cortina Williams. I am the proud founder and CEO of Williams Professional Water Restoration Service. And I'm also known around the world as the Master Connector. Relationships do matter. I want you to listen to what I am going to say and pay very close attention. You will be visiting each of the tables for the different cities and the different departments in the City of Delray. But aside from that, it is important to know who is in the room, because you never know who's in the room. That contact that you make with each other could lead to your next contract. Your net work can increase your net worth. I met this gentleman, Emmanuel and Sean, on a site visit in Delray. Emmanuel and I connected just like this. We have been in contact via phone, via Zoom, and we're working on things together. So you're talking about being small. How do you get this? How do you get that? Have you ever thought about partnership? Have you ever thought about joint ventures? Because if you become a prime on a contract that I was interested in and you won the bid and I didn't, I would come over and said, hey, you're the prime. This is what I offer. How can I become a sub and work with you? So don't discount anyone in this room, because you never know who's here. And Miss Tina is out.
Yes, good job. And I think those are great words, and I would add that a slice of the pie is better than no pie at all.
Any more questions?
I would ask you all in sum to really reach out to some of our partners here at the table. SPDC is a great organization to help grow your business and give you that wonderful advice at that wonderful low cost of free. So really, they really worth reaching out to. If you are a small minority or woman-owned business, please reach out to the county, register with them, and have those opportunities. Register with the city. I'm also going to tell you just about every city is going to have a similar vendor registration off their website. You just find the city's website, go to their purchasing or procurement division, and they'll have it right there on the site. That's how you can do business. We want you to not only succeed and do business with us, but to do business with other cities as well. We want you all to grow your businesses and be happy and fruitful and buy Lamborghinis and all those sort of things. If you have any suggestions for future events or anything you think is beneficial for us to know, please write it on that sheet. I'm also going to leave a stack of my business cards on this table here. Feel free to email me or call me at any time, or to reach out to any of the staff members here. Rob Evans, our Economic Development Manager, our Procurement Division, who are scattered about the room, Edison and Joel is here, and McKerna. They can help you. If they don't know the answer, they will find the answer for you. So I'm going to ask you at this time to give everybody a round of applause who came here to speak, and yourselves for coming. Thank you so much. Don't leave without talking to the folks on the side of the room, introducing yourself, letting them know who you are. That's the step in networking here. Get to know the folks. And what we ask the departments, so you know, we ask the departments to send us the people who make those purchasing decisions. It's not just send us somebody from your department. So please go and talk to them, find out what they do, make sure they know your name and what you provide, so that next time they're doing one of those smaller procurements, they give you a call. So thank you all very much.